Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. So as always, thank you so much for joining us. It's really great to see everybody tuning in. So hopefully we'll have a good and productive session today. So for those of you who don't know, we are Instant Impact, the UK's leading graduate recruitment agency. So we place top graduates into exciting jobs at startups and SMEs. So really we use these webinars to bring you our kind of expert careers advice and help you to boost your employability and kind of go and grab that job really. But today what we're going to be discussing is the kind of nerve-wracking experience of starting a new job. So we're going to talk about ways you can kind of control those nerves and things you can do before starting to make sure that you arrive at your brand new office ready to kind of prove yourself and really show off how great you are. So this webinar is going to be applicable if you are about to start a new work experience placement, a new internship or graduate job. Whatever it is, you really need to kind of go in there, make a good first impression and show that you know, you're right for the role, that they made a great choice in hiring you, and if it is an internship, that they should take you on full-time at the end. So I am going to spend the first half of the session talking about things you can do prior to actually starting your job or placement to kind of aid you into a nice smooth transition and have a really easy start to the job. And then my colleague Hannah is going to take over the second half of the session, and she's going to talk to us a bit about things to do once you've actually started. So when you're in your new job, what you can do to make sure you do make that great first impression. So I think today's session should be a really enjoyable one. So let's get started. All right. The first thing I would say to try and do before you actually start your new job is to get involved with the team and the office culture. So I think this is especially good if you are joining a smaller company, a startup, you know, because there are often ways of actually doing this before you even get there. You may be assigned, for instance, a mentor who's an existing team member, and if that is the case, you know, really use that aid. Get talking to them, send them, you know, emails, or even ask perhaps to meet one day before you actually start your job. You may even get invited to our company socials. You know, here at Instant Impact, when we have new people joining us, they always get invited to a social before they come. So again, if that happens, take the opportunity, get involved, go along. You know, it is going to be nerve-wracking, but it'll mean that when you turn up on your first day, you'll already feel that little bit extra settled in. You'll already have met everyone, and you know, from my opinion, I think that's the most daunting thing of a first day, you know, having to meet so many new people all at once, and it will really have taken away that element for you. So basically get involved in any way that you can, and everyone will think you're super friendly and great before you arrive as well, which is always a good thing. So the next tip would definitely be to find out the dress code before you start, because nothing first day like rocking up in a three-piece suit and finding the rest of your team hanging out in flip-flops or something, you know, or vice versa. Awkward. We don't want that. So ask that mentor, ask the HR team, whoever it is you have contact with, ask them before your first day so that you know you can go in, you're going to fit in, not stand out like the new guy. And yeah, that'll just help you to feel, again, like more relaxed, more comfortable and part of the team. Next up is your journey. So, you know, on a personal level, when I need to take a new journey and I know I have to get somewhere on time, it causes me endless anxiety. So we want to kind of take that away. So you know, make sure that you plan out your routes well in advance, have some backup routes in case, you know, in London the tubes are cancelled, the train strikes are on, there's too much traffic, whatever it is. Make sure you have some backups, and try and even actually take the journey in advance. So, you know, maybe the day before or the week before, get up early, I know, annoying, and go to work at the time that you would be doing. So you've actually practiced that journey. So when it comes around to the first day, you haven't got that additional worry of, you know, what if I haven't left enough time, or what if this goes wrong, that goes wrong. That will kind of, again, help you to become more relaxed. I think the biggest thing is, turning up to work feeling very confident, relaxed, and not worrying about all these little things that will really allow you to showcase how great you are at the actual job. Again, you know, as I said in my last point, you don't want to turn up overdressed, but I think the worst thing you can do is turn up overdressed and also dripping in sweat because you've run the last, I don't know how long, of your journey. So yeah, I think this is a really, really good one. Don't make those first handshakes any clammier than they already are going to be, okay? All right, and that moves me on to my fourth point, which is try and get a good night's sleep before you start. So I know this one sounds really trivial, but if you've kind of prepared all these things already, do these a couple of days before, so then, you know, the night before you start, you can chill out, whatever it is that you do to chill out, take a bubble bath, listen to some Ed Sheeran, I don't know. But do that and just make sure you get into bed nice and early, you get your full 8 hours sleep, you can wake up feeling refreshed, turn up and ready to shine in your job, really. Now, another kind of more academic point would be to do your additional research. Obviously, you've managed to bag the job in the first place, so you must have researched the company really well for your interview, but there's always more you can know. So get online, research the industry a little bit more, the company, find out if anything has changed since you had your interview. And also, you know, make the most of social media. Especially LinkedIn, you can actually go and literally look up the other people who you're going to be working with. This will be really helpful as well in terms of learning people's names. If you're, you know, particularly clever, you can learn them in advance, so when you turn up, you know you're going to have everyone's names nailed. So that's another really good thing to do. You kind of just know a little bit more about the company, and again, all about making you feel like you're part of the team. Next up is ask questions. You know, if you have any questions before you start, if there's something that's bugging you, something that you're just not quite sure on, ask. You know, send an email, call up, whatever, and ask. You know, people, your new employer is expecting you to have loads of questions, and you shouldn't be kind of embarrassed or worried about asking them. It makes you look like you are preparing in advance for your job. It makes you look switched on. So it's always going to be a good thing. So don't be worried to ask any questions, whether it's about the job itself, again, like things like dress code, little things like that, whatever it is. Go ahead and ask. And I think my final point, and the one that in a way is the most important, is get excited. You know, this is a whole new chapter in your life. You could be about to start your absolute dream job and really get on with your career, and it's an incredibly, incredibly exciting thing. So don't let the nerves get in the way of that. You know, you've done something amazing to get this job. You've obviously worked really, really hard. So enjoy what's happening, and take the time to be super excited, get yourself pumped up and ready for this brand new part of life, really. So they are all of my kind of pre-work points. So I will now pass you over to Hannah, who I know has got some great kind of do's and don'ts for what to do when you're actually at the office. So I will pass you over now.
Hi guys, thanks a lot, Sarah. That was really interesting and useful information. At Instant Impact, we obviously have so much experience, and we've heard all of the kind of funny horror stories from candidates about their first days and things that went wrong. So hopefully what we'll be able to do now is share a bit of that information with you and get you really confident for how you can excel in your first day of your new job. So getting straight into it again, Sarah's already mentioned about pre-planning and making sure that you turn up to the office on time. I can't stress this point enough. Just like at interview stage, it's really, really important to make sure you're turning up prompt and on time to start your new job. Another point on that as well is, everyone needs that first caffeine punch when they wake up in the morning, but especially on the first day of your new job, I would really suggest trying to avoid turning up with something like a Costa coffee or a Starbucks in your hand. You really want to turn up on the doorstep, ready to go, ready to start, looking extremely professional. And after that point, maybe you can kind of, test the waters, see how it is. And on the second and third day, go get that Starbucks that will, give you that punch to start the day. Next one is coming up to remembering people's names, especially if you're starting kind of a big organization. This can be quite daunting prospect if you turn up at a new office and everyone introduces themselves and then suddenly you cannot remember a single person's name. So something that I like to do when I start somewhere new or I go into an office to meet new clients is try to attribute something to that person that will help you remember their name. So for example, when I met Sarah for the first time, she was wearing nail polish. So it was a really great way of remembering her name and looking at her nail polish and thinking, that's Sarah. Sarah wears nail varnish. I'd also say about this as well, try to, as Sarah mentioned, look up before you start on LinkedIn so that you've got people's names in the bag. It's fine in your first week, everyone's expecting you not to know everybody, but if it comes to the second week and you're calling your boss Barry and his name's Bob, slightly awkward. The next one that I'd say is very early on, if you're not shown already, establish where things like the toilet, the kitchen, the cloakroom are ASAP. You don't want to get lost, or especially if you're in a shared office, get into an embarrassing situation where you turn up in somebody else's office. I'd say really make sure you know where those places are straight away so that you're not into any awkward situations further down the line. I'd also recommend going in straight away on day one with a very professional and really hard-working attitude. So even if the company, and in a lot of the cases of the businesses that we work with, startups, SMEs, they will have a very casual and open office vibe. But just remember that when you're starting your first day of a new job, you really need to earn the respect of your new colleagues, your manager, your boss. No matter what you are or what your position is, it's really important to go in very professional, very hardworking, so they get a great perception of you from day one. You've met the people that you've interviewed with before, but the rest of the team and the colleagues might not have necessarily met you. So you really want to be banging out that first impression and really making an excellent impression from the word go. Next up is something that might seem pretty obvious, but quite a lot of graduates, especially if you actually haven't maybe had some work experience or worked in an office environment before, is useful to take notes. It's kind of assumed that when you get to work, you'll be provided with things like stationery and notepads, etc., etc. But I would really recommend turning up on that first day with a pen and with a pad so you can take notes. Not things like, the toilet is down the corridor, but things that you pick up along the way, training tips, comments that people are making to you, just so that the simplest things aren't slipping your mind further down the line, so that you don't have to keep going back and asking questions that have already been answered. So that's a really great way of boosting your confidence and just getting everything down on a piece of paper. And something I think is really nice as well is that, looking back, maybe like a year or a few months down the line, you can look back to that first day and look at the things that you were jotting down and the questions. And it's really nice to kind of see your progression and how you felt on that first day compared to how you are now when you're settled into your job. Next point is about questions. Sarah's already mentioned it, asking questions before you actually turn up to your first day. But I think on the job, something really important that we go by at Instant Impact is that questions are your currency when you're starting a new job. So the more you ask, the more you get involved, the quicker you can get to work. And when you're new, just remember that no question is a stupid question. Don't feel embarrassed to ask anything. Just go for it. You'll be respected a lot more and your confidence will grow a lot quicker if you make sure kind of in that first week all your questions are answered and you know exactly what you're doing. And I think it's important as well to find the right balance when you're starting a new job. You really don't want to become a yes man with all of your colleagues. Whilst it's great to take on everything to impress your new team members, there's also nothing worse than being too keen, taking on too much, and not being able to deliver on the kind of work that you've been offered. I think another note is if you're starting out with other people in your job, which is quite common for graduates, to start with maybe 2 or 3 other people if you're starting in a small business, is to have respect for them as well and make an effort to get to know them. First of all, they're a great, your colleagues that are starting at the same time as you are a great place to fall back on if you have questions like, I can't remember what someone said in that meeting, can you help me out? But also you want to be shown to the rest of the team as a collaborator. So, make sure that you're not necessarily stepping on people that have started at the same time as you. You don't want to be shown to, be that person that steps on other people to get to the top. You want to be shown as a collaborator and a team player. So it's really important to remember that these are your peers. You should be getting on with them and using them to your advantage as well. So my kind of final point to sum all of that up, and I think is an obvious one, but absolutely vital when you're starting a new job, especially in, the startup culture where social events are the norm and, you do a lot of stuff where you're out of the office and socializing with people, is to behave on that first social. So even if you've settled in an absolute treat and you feel like you've been in that job forever, you know, you're getting on with all your colleagues, it's not acceptable at that first social to get rip-roaring drunk, you know, show your knickers, start crying and dribbling on your manager. Social events are a fab way for bonding with your colleagues, but you know, you need to make sure you're staying on the line, and you're not going further than it. Especially, you know, people like your managers, senior members of the team in a social environment. It's great to get talking to them, to interact with them, but do remember that they are your senior members. They're really looking for you to be professional, and still remember that you're in the working environment when you're on those work socials. So that's kind of it, to be honest. To sum everything up, we would say that, you know, don't put too much pressure on yourself when you're starting a new job. Nerves can really show through, and when you're nervous, you know, you can slip up, make mistakes. Do remember that these employers know that you're a graduate, you're fresh out of university, you haven't had a wealth of work experience, you're there to learn, you've got the job, you're eager, and, you know, remember that you've done a fantastic thing, you've got the job, so really enjoy it. And especially your first few days, you know, it's an explosion of information, a lot to take in, and it's really, really exciting. So hopefully that's helpful information. We have plenty of other webinars that you can tune into. Go onto our YouTube channel to have a look at them. And if you have any other questions, don't forget that you can always email us at webinars@instant-impact.com if you have any questions, or you'd like to go through your CV, interview advice, and also just maybe find out how you can find out more about the company and your, you know, small business that you're joining. We're always here to help, and we'd love to hear from you. Anyway, that's it from today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope to be in touch soon. Thanks a lot.